a few weeks later, and in January, we all get letters saying that we are all going to be summoned to trial for signing this letter. And he made up violations that did not exist in the bylaws. So we didn't violate any bylaws. He didn't cite that we broke any bylaws. He just charged us with the very ambiguous charge of conduct that was damaging to the good name of the party or tending to damage the good name of the party, which he couldn't do because we actually have things you can charge people with under the bylaws. And if the bylaws have some type of defined offenses that its members can be charged for, you have to try those members for those defined offenses. So he went, again, outside of the bylaws. He launched this trial for us, gave us no investigation. He obstructed our counsel. They didn't even have a quorum when they finally convicted us. Again, it was just like one kangaroo court sham procedure after another. It was embarrassing. And so we raised a fuss about, you can disagree with the action. You can say, well, we think it does this, but you have to give us a fair trial. Our accusers, the ones who prefer the charges, cannot be the same ones who are the jury and the judges, which is exactly what happened here. Not only that, but they imposed a series of punishments upon us. And that series of punishments wasn't allowed either underneath the bylaws and even underneath Robert's rules. Only one of 3 punishments may be levied on an accused member who is found guilty of a charge. And yet I think all of us had 4 charges or sets of punishments simultaneously levied upon us, including, you can't participate in the party for up to, another 4 to 6 years. You can't go to party events. None of those things are even punishments that are allowed in the bylaws. So crazy. It's super crazy stuff. And that's, and it's ended up in being kind of like a big scandal here in Utah because Mike Carey hasn't limited his retaliatory actions toward us. He's gone after everybody who's spoken out very vocally about this situation. He's gone after Jensen Vasic, who was one of the executive committee members. He thought it was a witch hunt, the first balloon trial, and Mike Carey threatened him with an ethics committee investigation. Michael Clara was a candidate for State Board 5, and he was commenting on the crazy nature of these actions. And Michael Carey also went after him and said, "Oh, I'm going to get you an ethics complaint." And he is the party's nominee for that race. He was our Republican, and Michael Clara said, "Hey, I'm not going to fight the Democrats and the Republicans at the same time. This is insane." And so he stepped down because it's really impossible to conduct a campaign if you have to fight against your own party. And so he was totally at the mercy of Mike Carey, and he decided he just wasn't going to play that game. And I honestly don't blame him one bit. Unfortunately, that's left a big hole because nobody's stepping up to run for the state board District 5 seat in this area. It's a very difficult area for Republicans. We're lucky to get even one good qualified candidate for that part. So yeah. And then the other person who could be good and qualified for that was one of the 8 who were ousted. So it's not like they have a whole lot of options, and they're tanking Republicans here in the county. And then, of course, our lawyer, Natalie Clawson, when she was meeting with Mike to try to mediate a resolution, he walked away from that meeting and filed a bar complaint against her for her efforts to try to mediate the resolution. And then the capstone of all this was just yesterday, he went after Sarah Montes, who was the vice chair, and they had a meeting this past Saturday to try to reinstate the aid and correct the wrongs that were done to us. And she was fighting for procedural integrity, basically, hey, we did violate some laws here. Let's correct this situation. And Mike Carey turned and retaliated against her, and he and Emily Swanson and Carl Jurek voted her out of leadership. So it's a massive purge. I call him Chairman Mao Carey. I feel like these are tactics that are reminiscent of the Cultural Revolution